94 WYSP. In this week, this final week, and now we're down to the final days, we've been able to talk to just some of the legendary voices of 94 WYSP. And RFD, Richard Finley, is one of those voices, and I have him on now. It's been a mighty long time since you've been on the radio here. Have you thought about YSP before you heard, recently, before you heard that we were closing our doors?
Well, it's been a long time, and I hadn't really thought about it for years. You know, I mean, it's so far away and long ago, but it was really, as I look back on it, you know, from like 68 to 77 was, you know, for music and the culture that my generation evolved from. I mean, those were amazing days. Now,
you were here, you did the first show when we became AOR?
No, I came in, it had been on the air for a couple of months.
Okay.
They'd put together a music list, and they were playing kind of a basic rotation of stuff. And there was a fella from New Orleans who was acting as the music director, and I think that Frank X. Feller was the acting PD, but it really wasn't not much. The only thing really happening was they had Maureen on at night. I think it was Maureen Flaherty. She was pretty cool, and it was doing okay. But they brought me in to, I guess, turn it up a notch.
So what were you doing before you came here? What were you doing at the time?
I was at WEBN in Cincinnati.
Which is still there, right?
Which is still there.
Yeah, and still a pretty powerful rock station out there.
It is a great radio station. We had a lot of fun at EBN. You know, did things like we had Tree Frog beer commercials that we ran all the time. A fictitious beer. We built an underground mall on the air.
Oh, really?
You know, also people were looking for it all over town. It was a pretty amazing thing.
Now, radio. I mean, the difference in radio then to radio now is just not just free to do what you want, but the creativity and like the theater of the mind and the connection I feel like you guys had was pretty amazing.
We got radio got Lee Abrams. Is what happened.
Yeah,
it got homogenized and I think ruined actually.
Do you remember the first record that you played on YSP?
Hell no. Oh hell no. I have lots of memories. I've actually spent some time kind of like jotting down some notes.
It's Spike talking to legendary YSP DJ Richard Finley. Well, let's start at the beginning. Do you remember when you got to Philly?
When I came to town, the first day I was there was May 19th. Do you know what happened on May 19th in 1974?
No.
The Flyers won their first Stanley Cup.
Oh, my goodness.
We drove into town at 10 o'clock at night in a U-Haul truck like radio people did back in the day. Come off the Schuylkill Expressway into Center City, Philadelphia, a place I'd never been in my entire life. And people are running around waving hockey sticks and screaming and yelling like crazy.
Welcome to Philly.
and we look at each other and we're thinking, what in God's name is this? And hockey to me was when I was a kid, we'd clear a space off the ice in the snow and play some, you know, just lake hockey. But, you know, that night they'd won the cup. And the whole town went nuts. Kate Smith saying, God bless America. And, you know, guys out there playing hockey like Perrant was the MVP, and McLeish scored the goal, and Stone, the Bruins won 0-0. And, you know, all those guys, Schultz and Clark and Clement, they won everything they played for the next 3 or 4 years. It was really a hockey town.
Well, and the Sixers had good years in there too. I can't forget about the Sixers. I love the Sixers.
There was basketball everywhere in Philadelphia. Every neighborhood had a court with chain nets and stuff. It was great. We played a lot of basketball. I played for Broomall Ward Mormon team, and although I'm not really a Mormon, they were trying to help me out, I guess. And we went to the regional championships in Brunswick, New Jersey. I mean, basketball was real strong in Philly, too.
Talking to legendary YSP DJ Richard Finley, why do you think people love YSP, and they loved them back then? That's when it started. What did it? Like, what caused that commitment?
We did things with the people. I mean, we were really the people's radio station. You mentioned MMR. My goal was to kill MMR. I mean, that's just the way I operated. And I listened to that station, and they had a guy named Tierson, and Ed Shockey was their featured character on the air. Rest in peace. I believe he's gone.
Yeah, he is.
I talked to his wife about advertising years later, but they were playing Linda's Farm and Tom Rush and, It's a Beautiful Day and all that kind of esoteric stuff.
Yeah.
And we're playing, the Beatles, the Stones, Moody Blues, Allman Brothers, Steely Dan, Steve Miller, Tower of Power, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Who's going to win that fight?
Yeah. I mean, even to this day, it always seems like YSP, like we were just more rock, like we were always, whatever the next kind of more rock thing was, it always seems like YSP was.
I think we beat them 3-1 in the first Arbitron after I got there.
That must have been awesome.
It was a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
They were paying me $350 a week. I was the program director, the music director. I handled the promotions. I did middays. I did hops and nightclubs, and I was making $350 a week.
And tell me about that bar in Jersey, Zigzag, I think it was called.
It was a bar in the middle of nowhere in New Jersey, and I think the fire marshal said 450 was the capacity, and we'd put about 800 people in there on Friday and Saturday nights, and I DJ'd. And there was a circuit of bands that played the Shore and South Philly and parts of New Jersey. One of the bands was called Squeeze, and they were a Zeppelin band. I mean, that's what they did. They did a Zeppelin show. They were great. I mean, they were really good. And we used to play in the van in the parking lot while they were playing, and then come in and DJ. And my job was to get people up and dancing, and we had a good time over there. That's a long time ago. It was in the middle of nowhere. Richard
Finley, legendary voice of 94 WYSP. You guys did something really special at the Tower, too, with some huge rock bands.
A fellow named Don Kohlberg, I believe, was the CBS record guy, and he was a friend of Frank Fellers. And he put together 94 Night at the Tower Theater, so for 94 cents you could see Aerosmith. And we had 2 shows. I believe it set 3,400 people. So 6,800 people got to see Aerosmith for 94 cents that night. I emceed the first show, and I was so bad at it they wouldn't let me MC the second show. Because I wanted people to remember that it was WYSP 94, and everybody was saying it was Dollar Night. So the promotion didn't really work for us that well, except people loved us for doing it. But they didn't remember 94 night. They remembered it was $1, which I always thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, the DJ on the stage thing never really works out the way you want it to.
Steve Tyler almost kicked me in the left ear when he came out and grabbed the microphone and did his kick. And I was wearing jeans and a T-shirt, and I got off stage in a minute. I mean, these guys were fired up. This was during the days when Aerosmith was fired up all the time.
Yeah, well,
they had a 17-page rider on their contract, including the number and temperature of the shrimp in their dressing room. It was pretty amazing. But they played for 94 cents, and they did a great show. I mean, that was a hot band.
What?
The best show I ever saw at the Tower was Springsteen.
Oh, God.
In 75. When he did Kitty's Back and the strobe light hit the mirror ball and he jumped off the stage, you could feel a 220 going through you. It was just unbelievable.
When you were a DJ, when you were at YSP, it was just a great time for music, too.
The volume of music was amazing, from Janis Joplin to Jimi Hendrix and Steely Dan. I mean, the diversity and the quality of it. And then people came along, like Lee Abrams, to format and homogenize it. And they distilled it down to the essence of like 800 songs. And we played 3,000 songs. I mean, we played everything. Went 6 deep into albums, played whole albums. I mean, we'd do things like put on side 1 of Abbey Road and then do some commercials and then flip it over and play side 2.
I'm Spike. It's the last days of 94 WYSP, talking to Richard Finley. And people associate this radio station with memories of growing up. They remember, where they were when certain things happened.
There's a fellow here in West Virginia that listened. He's from North Philly. And he called me one day and said, "Dick, I smoked my first joint because I listened to YSP. It sounded like you guys were having so much fun, I wanted to be part of it." Things like that. I had a guy call me up one day from a candle factory. He said, "We listened to your show because we like the colors that come out in the candles when you're on the air." I mean, stuff like that happened all the time. We did a hop at Upper Darby. I got to tell you about it.
Okay, go ahead.
F. Lane Massey.
Yes, I was going to ask you about Mr. Lane.
F. Lane Massey built a sound system for us to go into high school gyms with 4 Bose 901s, 18-inch bass cabinets, ceiling projectors, strobe lights. I mean, the whole deal. And it really, really sounded good. So we're at Upper Darby for the senior dance. and the kids want to hear Roundabout. And I'm thinking, I've got it. It's in my library, but it's not really a dance song. They kept saying, we want to hear it, we want to hear it. So I promised at midnight we'll play Roundabout. 11:45, the place clears out. There's an attitude adjustment going on somewhere.
Yeah.
Midnight, that first note of Roundabout hit on this sound system, and those kids went off like bottle rockets. It was unbelievable, the energy and the feeling in that room. And there was 500-600 kids in this gym it was awesome. They really knew how to party in Upper Darby.
Well, man, I'll tell you this, and we have Fox and Leonard coming up at 1. This whole experience, this last couple of weeks of WYSP, has been amazing to me because it's been such a big part of my life, and it's just to tie together all the history has been awesome. So thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us.
Well, that's cool. I appreciate it. I'll give my best to Richard Bagg, a good man.
I will. He's a great man.
I hope Frank X. Feller tunes in because I always loved Frank X. Feller. We got crossways on something that it was just a misunderstanding along the way, but I always loved Frank X. Feller. He was one of the people that helped us wire into the community, So you have a good day.
You too, and I'll tell Bagg you said hi.
All right.
All right, man. Thanks very much.
Bye.
See you, man.